Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, the Indian Navy gets more firepower. The Indian government to sign a deal for buying 26 Rafal Marine fighter jets from France. India blocks 16 YouTube channels from Pakistan, writes to the BBC over its reporting on the Pahalgam terror attack. The Legislative Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir holds a special session to pay homage to the Pahalgam terror victims. And North Korea accepts for the first time that it sent soldiers to fight for Russia in the Ukraine war. Putin thanks Kim Jong-un for helping to drive out Ukrainian troops out of Kursk. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, along with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi at his residence in New Delhi. The meeting comes 3 days after the all-party meeting held in Parliament's premises on the Pahalgam terror attack, which was chaired by the Defence Minister. The meeting also comes a day after Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan briefed the Defence Minister on the critical decisions made to counter Pakistan in the aftermath of the deadly Pahalgam terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir. India and France are set to sign a ₹63,000 crore deal for 26 Rafale Marine combat aircraft. The report also claimed officials from the Indian Defence Ministry and the French ambassador to India will represent the two sides at the signing event. The 26 Rafale Marine fighter jets are urgently required for deployment on the Indian aircraft carriers, particularly the INS Vikrant, which is now in service. The Rafael M jets will be customized to meet Indian requirements and will be integrated into the INS Vikrant. These carrier-borne fighters are being acquired as a stopgap solution until the development of an indigenous carrier-borne fighter jet is completed. And joining me from New Delhi is my colleague Ashray Dagar. Akshay, tell us more about this high-level meeting that took place in New Delhi.
Well, this is a meeting to finalize the purchase of the 26 Rafael M's, a much-needed naval variant of the Rafale that has been created by Dassault, an aviation giant from France. And the reason for the acquisition of Rafael M's and how it is going to be a force multiplier by the Indian Navy, or rather for the Indian Navy, is quite simple. We have been using the MiG-29Ks for several decades now for our aircraft-based operations. Now India has two aircraft carriers, the INS Vikrant and INS Vikramaditya, and the aircraft that are being used from the decks of these aircraft carriers are still the same MiG-29Ks. And while India is developing its own advanced variant of the naval-based aircraft that is called TED-BF, it's going to take a lot of time for those aircraft to actually start rolling into the service, and that perhaps is the reason why Rafael M fits this gap that is going to take about 10 to 15 years for the TED-BF to come into service and provide the Indian Navy with much needed firepower as far as sea-based operations are concerned. MiG-29Ks are also quite old fighters and now will be phased out eventually. However, to continue operating the aircraft carrier without advanced aircraft would be meaning leaving them actually vulnerable in seas as far as operations are concerned. And to fill this gap before the TED-BFs and the Indian variants of naval aircraft actually start to roll in, Rafael M are going to provide precision. They are going to provide much more firepower to the aircraft carriers than they already have at this point in time, that can be used not only for monitoring and ground to or air attacks, but also naval attacks as far as any kind of eventuality is concerned. Back to you.
One quick question before we let you go, Akshay. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, we believe and we are reporting, has met with the Prime Minister. What more can you tell us on this meeting?
Well, Ramesh, yes, there was a meeting of about 40 minutes at the residence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at 7 Lokalyan Marg, where Rajnath Singh had gone there and held a meeting. Now, there are several issues that have to be updated to the Prime Minister. One of them is obviously the build-up and the preparations that are going on to provide security, not just in Jammu and Kashmir, but in all the areas that have borders with Pakistan. So that is one issue. That is one issue that had to be updated to the Prime Minister. Yesterday, the CDS held a meeting with the Raksha Mantri, the Defense Minister of India, and all the preparations that are going on by the Indian Navy, by the Indian Air Force, or the Indian Army, they were all updated to the Defense Minister. Everything is being planned as far as security operations are concerned, and all of this is also regularly being briefed to the Prime Minister by the Defense Minister himself, and that was the reason why this meeting took place. But also, sources are telling us that the Rafale deal was also mentioned. And today, we're expecting that in a couple of hours, we'll get an official word from the ministry about the purchase that is likely to take place in the next few hours.
All right, I will leave it there. Akshay, thank you. Akshay Dongri reporting there from New Delhi. Now, India boasts two aircraft carriers, the INS Vikramaditya and the INS Vikrant. Both ships, each with a remarkable history and distinct capabilities, stand as symbols of India's growing maritime power. Take a look at these formidable carriers and their roles in shaping the future of India's naval operations.
INS Vikramaditya is the modernized and refurbished version of the original Soviet-era Kiev-class aircraft carrier. Commissioned as INS Vikramaditya in November 2013, this formidable ship was previously known as the Russian Admiral Gorshkov before undergoing extensive upgrades. At 285 meters long and 60 meters wide, INS Vikramaditya is the largest ship in the Indian Navy. Capable of carrying over 1,600 personnel and more than 30 aircraft, including MiG-29K fighters, KMOV-31 AEW helicopters, Sea King and Chetak helicopters, this carrier offers a versatile and powerful arsenal. What makes it even more impressive is its ability to operate over 7,000 nautical miles, showcasing its extensive range. The MiG-29K, India's primary offensive maritime fighter, gives the Navy a significant strike capability, while the ship's advanced launch and recovery systems ensure smooth operations of high-performance aircraft. With 23 decks and a height of 60 meters, INS Vikramaditya truly resembles a floating city, capable of carrying 8,000 tons of low-sulfur, high-speed diesel, ensuring long-range operations. It is a testament to India's strategic naval strength, and its operations have been pivotal in enhancing India's maritime security. On the other hand, India has INS Vikrant, India's first indigenous aircraft carrier, commissioned on September 2nd, 2022, marking a historic milestone. Designed by the Indian Navy's Warship Design Bureau and built by Cochin Shipyard, INS Vikrant is the largest ship ever built in India's maritime history. Named in honor of India's first aircraft carrier, which played a crucial role in 1971 Indo-Pak War, INS Vikrant signifies the growing self-reliance in India's defense capabilities. It is equipped with cutting-edge indigenous technology, developed with contributions from Indian industrial giants and over 100 MSMEs, solidifying India's position as a leader in defense technology. The commissioning of INS Vikrant by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become a symbol of India's indigenous potential, self-reliance and naval prowess. This state-of-the-art carrier adds to the Indian Navy's already powerful fleet, enhancing India's defense capabilities and strengthening its strategic influence in the Indian Ocean region. With this mighty ship, India has demonstrated its capacity to build advanced warships and aircraft carriers, solidifying its role as a dominant maritime force. INS Vikrant will play a crucial role in future naval operations, continuing India's legacy of strength, innovation, and global maritime leadership. Bureau Report, DD India.
All right, joining us is Major General Sudhakar G, retired. He is a former colonel of the Maha Regiment. He had the distinction of having served and commanded troops along the northern borders in the western, central and eastern sectors. General, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, before we come to the Rafale deal, how do you see this high-level meeting between Defence Minister and the Prime Minister? What might have been on its agenda?
Ramesh, good afternoon. Thank you for getting me to your show. And as regards to the question which you are asking, my personal take, because we are all mindful of the advisory which has come. My take is it's all going to be decided or focusing on the national security, particularly in relation to what has happened in Pahalgam. You know, that mayhem or the massacre of those 26 civilians, unarmed civilians, at a tourist spot was uncalled for, unwarranted. But then, be that as it may, there has to be a meeting response, a befitting response to be given by India at the perpetrators of this terrorist act. While I say this, India has to be mindful of the security environment which is obtaining in and around the subcontinent. We have to be mindful of the new additional fronts which have opened up, like Bangladesh. We have Doklam, the Chinese are sitting there or close to it, and the revival of the proxy war in J&K. And most importantly, the extended standoff, which gave us a perception that everything is hunky-dory, things would go back to normal. But it hasn't happened. The reset which was expected between China and India in relation to pulling back of the troops, that is withdrawing them from wherever they were deployed and getting back to the status of pre-April 2020. Somehow it has not happened. And on top of it, this massacre of our civilians at Pahalgam, which is definitely finger is pointing towards the sponsors across the line of control, that is Pakistan. So while deciding the target, it is their call. The decision makers in the cabinet committee headed by the Honorable Prime Minister, the place, time and the circumstances is a matter of choice which is to be decided by the leadership, and the type of weapon systems or the platforms to be used also has to be decided by the Cabinet Committee on Security. And this meeting that you're pointedly asking is fine-tuning a preparatory level of activities in terms of mobilization of resources, selection of target, and importantly, the consequences of any retaliation undertaken by India. India has to be prepared to face those kind of challenges and eventualities. Back to you, Ramesh.
A quick follow-up question, General. You painted a very disturbing hostile scenario obtaining in India's immediate neighborhood, especially in wake of the Pahalgam terror attack. Talking about the Pahalgam terror attack specifically, General, are all options still very much on the table? Kinetic, political, diplomatic, economic?
Absolutely, Ramesh. Just because I'm a soldier, my party is national interest, so the viewers should not take me amiss. Any statement I give, it is purely a personal assessment, being a student of geopolitics, strategy and security. From 2014 till date, whatever decisions the present government has taken in response to such kind of mayhem or terrorist activities, whether it is Uri attack or Pulwama or now Pahalgam, you start with Uri attack. This is perhaps for the first time a very significant and notable cross-border surgical operation was carried out. And it was followed by the Pulwama in 2019. And also the response matrix was a hard-hitting one, well may not be in the heartland, but well inside Pakistan, across the line of control. So this time I expect that kinetic component is going to be there. The form and contour and the color may vary, but in my view, as per the articulations by top leadership of the country, I personally feel this time the target is going to be quite substantive and enormous, and it will be befitting to the losses that we have been imposed with. The innocent lives have been lost. And when you are talking about the spectrum of activities, I don't think it is going to be one and all. That is a one type of balakot, and that's the end of it. To me, it appears that it is going to be a protracted one, it is going to be a sustained one over a period of time, so as to keep Pakistan under pressure, so as to make Pakistan realize that as long as they do not stop this cross-border terrorism, India is not going to pull back its course of action against Pakistan, so as to stop these terrorist activities against our own people. And last but not the least, that when you talk about the spectrum, it will have a non-kinetic component which has already been applied, and mainly I would say, majorly I would say, the Indus Water Treaty has been suspended or it has been held in abeyance. Or the other issue which I personally feel I recommend is that the FATF is another issue. America could be prevailed upon to stop giving bailout packages through IMF, because Pakistan is already trying to negotiate with the high-level people there in USA. That is second point. Third point is also it is trying to get the amount which has been sanctioned. I think it is 430 odd million. That is for upkeep and maintenance of the F-16. That also should be withheld. And similarly, other steps could be taken. But importantly, when you come to the kinetic component also has got different sub-headings. One is a standoff component. The other is cross-border covert operations. And likewise, we have many options. And those options are the ones at the discretion and the decision of the CCS. They are the ones who know the ground situation. They're alive to the reality. I think we should leave it to them. The leadership is doing a fantastic job, and the wisdom lies in their hand, and they have to take a final call as to what is to be delivered at what point in time, at which place, so as to have the requisite, or rather than unimaginable kind of a treatment which we have been assured through the articulations of the leadership of the country. And I am very confident, I am very sure, sooner or later it's going to happen, and it will happen. It may take little time, because the preparation takes little time to get ready for the consequences, not for the impending offensive retaliation that we are looking at. Back to you, Ramesh.
Indeed. And talking about the Rafale deal, General, what can you tell our viewers about this proposed signing of the Rafale Marine fighter aircraft deal, especially for the Navy, we are told? I mean, are the Rafale jets being bought as a stopgap measure until India develops an indigenous carrier-borne fighter jet?
Absolutely. That's a fact of life. In fact, let's not hide the truth. The reality remains that perhaps India is one of the very few countries which is an emerging global power, which has got two aircraft carrier, and the INS Vikrant, which has been developed and also produced by indigenously. This is an aircraft carrier which requires aircraft, state-of-the-art aircraft immediately, because as it has been brought out by the previous speaker, the MiG-29 is a aging fleet that doesn't have the kind of avionics which Rafale has. Now we need to understand, what is this aircraft? Why didn't we go in for things like, let's say, F-16? This aircraft, as per me, it is far, far better, and it has got a huge power and platform to deliver a greater amount of warhead and explosives at the point of shooting, that is the target. When you talk about this, the warhead capacity, carriage capacity, and also the overall load is pretty higher than that of any aircraft which is comparable with Rafale. And also the weight to thrust ratio is, I think, one of the highest in F-16 series. This aircraft actually gives the ability to Rafale to maneuver itself and avoid detection, as also from the oncoming missile and the warheads. And third and most important thing that we need to understand is that it is a omni-role kind of aircraft. Let's not have any misgivings that it is going to be based on the platform of the aircraft carrier. It is meant only for the maritime. Yes, it is a maritime variant, no denying the fact, but it also has the capability to give ground support whenever ground troops are to be supported by the aerial support. And it has the capability also to adopt a profile of nuclear deterrence. That is the kind. And also one of the most important things which many people may not be knowing, this aircraft is a very unique aircraft which is built, has got inbuilt systems of electronic countermeasures. Electronic countermeasures, they fall under the three paradigms. ESM is the support measure, that is to support your system when you are seeking information of the enemy electromagnetic emission. And if there is a countermeasure from the enemy, or the enemy is trying to seek information from you, then there is a countermeasure from our side. It is called ECM, electronic countermeasure. And to the enemy's ECM towards our ESM, we have an electronic countermeasure. So this is one of the very few aircrafts in the world today which has got this kind of inbuilt system built inside the aircraft, and this is going to give us a booster as far as the electromagnetic spectrum warfighting is concerned. Besides that, this aircraft also can be applied for, besides the maritime duties, for surveillance, for interdiction, also close air support, air superiority, etc., etc. Now, what is important is that over a period of time, particularly from 2014 onwards, I see as a student that the sphere of influence of India's areas of interest, they have extended to the west from Persian Gulf towards Mediterranean, and in the east from Malacca Strait to South China Sea. So under these circumstances, these two naval the aircraft carriers, if backed with such kind of state-of-the-art Rafales or the aircrafts, they definitely are going to be very, very supportive and will help in contributing towards achievement of the larger goal of the national interest. And more than anything else, it has got the ability to maneuver in a complicated situation in an air-to-air battle very efficiently. So these are the few issues I thought I must share, and there are many more, but keeping in view the time, I am restricting my response to respond to you.
I'm afraid we run out of time. I'll have to leave it there. Major General Sudhakarji, thank you for joining us and sharing your perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Right, time for a very short break. Keep watching DD India News Hour. Jai Ho started in a small studio in Chennai called Panchatan Recorded and echoed across the world. That's the power of our stories, our music. Now it's time for World Audio Visual and Entertainment Summit to take that power even further. Join the movement that will make Indian music unstoppable. Let's create history together at World Audio Visual Entertainment Summit Waves 2025, 1st May to 4th May.
Connecting creators, connecting countries. Waves 2025.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. After the suspension of Indus Waters Treaty, another crackdown by the Indian government on Pakistan, as the centre has banned several Pakistani YouTube channels following the Pahalgam terror attack. 16 Pakistani YouTube channels with a total of 63 million subscribers have been banned in India for spreading provocative and communally sensitive content in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. The YouTube channels have been banned on the Home Ministry's recommendations. The banned platforms include YouTube channels of news outlets such as Dawn, Sama TV, ARY News, Pol News, Raftar, Geo News and Suno News. YouTube channels of journalists Irshad Bhatti, Asma Shirazi, Omar Chima and Munib Farooq have also been banned. Other handles that have been banned include The Pakistan Reference, Sama Sports, Uzair Cricket and Razi Nama. On the recommendations of the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Government of India has banned 16 YouTube channels for disseminating provocative and communally sensitive content, false and misleading narratives and misinformation against India, its army and security agencies in the backdrop of the tragic Pahalgam terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir. India has also conveyed its strong sentiments to the BBC India head regarding its reporting on the Pahalgam terror attack. The ASXPD conveyed the country's strong sentiments to Jackie Martin, India head BBC, regarding their reporting on the terror attack. Formal letter has been written to the BBC on terming terrorists as militants in their news dispatches. A special one-day session of the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly was held on Monday. In the beginning of the session, members of the Legislative Assembly observed silence for the victims of the recent Pahalgam terror attack. The session was held to condemn the terror attack. During the session, the Assembly passed a resolution that condemned the 22nd April attack. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah also expressed grief over the incident. The proceedings were adjourned sine die after the resolution was passed.
मेरे पास अल्फाज नहीं थे कि मैं क्या कह के उनके घर वालों से माफ़ी मांगूं। मेज़बान होते हुए मेरी जिम्मेदारी थी कि सही सलामत मैं इन्हें यहाँ से वापस भेजूं। नहीं भेज पाया। और माफ़ी मांगने के अल्फाज नहीं थे।
In yet another incident of ceasefire violation, Pakistani army posts resorted to unprovoked small arms fire across the line of control, targeting areas opposite Kupwara and Poonch districts in Jammu and Kashmir. As per information, the incident occurred on the intervening night of 27 and 28 April. However, the Indian Army responded promptly to counter the aggression. This was the fourth consecutive night that Pakistan resorted to unprovoked firing along the LOC. And joining us on the phone line from Srinagar is my colleague Salman Qazi. Salman, what can you tell us about the anti-terror operations in the valley?
There have been a lot of anti-terror operations that have been taking place, but these are mostly a lot of these operations cannot be singularly attributed to the Pahalgam terror attack, but also kind of an general offensives that security forces do take. But however, definitely the attack has improved. Attack has provided an impetus to the security forces to go with a renewed vigor. So we have had instances where the security forces have collected the information about most of the active militants, and they are pursuing them. In some of the instances, in some of the egregious cases, they are even blowing up their in a controlled explosion. Their properties are being blown up. So there has been a kind of an quickness to the operations, anti-terror operations overall, following the Pahalgam attack.
Salman, thank you. Salman Qazi reporting there on the phone line from Srinagar. And talking about the Kashmir Valley, Dal Lake is the lifeline of Srinagar. It is coming back to normalcy after the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. DD India's Vishal Baristo gets you this report.
I'm here at the Dal Lake in Srinagar, and tourists have started pouring back here in Dal Lake to give a befitting reply to the disastrous terror attack and at Pahalgam. Let's talk to some of them and find out. I've got a youngster here. What's your name?
Vedant.
Vedant, where are you coming from?
I'm coming from Indore, MP.
Okay. So how long have you been here?
I've been here for 3 days.
And how has been the visit?
The visit has been amazing. It is a very good experience in Kashmir, and the nature here is very beautiful.
ये बताइए कि कहाँ घूमे हैं और क्या उस अटैक के बाद कुछ आपको लग रहा है कि यहाँ के लोगों के बारे में क्या कहना है?
हम लोग डल लेक गए हैं। यहाँ के लोग बहुत अच्छे हैं, कोऑपरेटिव हैं, बहुत अच्छे हैं और उनका नेचर बहुत अच्छा है।
The hospitality is amazing.
Hospitality is amazing. What do you have to say about Kashmir? और उस अटैक के बाद क्या आपको कुछ घबराहट हो रही है या आप बिल्कुल सेफ महसूस कर रहे हैं?
बहुत सेफ्टी है और सब लोग बहुत कोऑपरेटिव है और सब लोग बहुत साथ देते हैं, सपोर्टिव है सब लोग।
कब तक रहेंगे आप?
हम लोग 30 तक है, 1 को हम लोग की वापस फ्लाइट रिटर्न।
Okay. So what do you have to say about Kashmir?
It is a very beautiful place and there are many places to visit, and yes.
So what memories are you going to take back?
Like...
You love the place?
Yes, actually.
And would you like to come again?
Peaceful place, and yes, I actually want to come again here.
अभी हम लोग पहलगाम भी जाने वाले हैं। अभी मन में कोई डर नहीं है क्योंकि यहाँ के लोग बहुत कोऑपरेटिव हैं और बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं यहाँ के। आप आओ, अपना देश है, यहाँ पे अच्छे से रहो, बहुत अच्छा देश है। मतलब आप आराम से आ सकते हो। यहाँ की हवाई वाइब्स बहुत अच्छी है यहाँ की। आप आओगे तो पता ही नहीं लगेगा आपको कि यहाँ पे कुछ हुआ है, अटैक हुआ है। यहाँ पे कुछ है ही नहीं, बिल्कुल भी कुछ भी नहीं है। बहुत अच्छा है यहाँ पे।
So there you hear from these tourists. They are from Indore, from the central Indian state of Madhya Pradesh, and they are all enjoying. They have all praises for the local Kashmiris, about their hospitality, about the natural beauty, and they are all enjoying. They don't feel unsafe, and they also plan to go to Pahalgam. So this is the message for you sitting across the border, that India and Indians will not be cowed down. The love and bonding between people will always be there. With cameraman Mohit Uike in Srinagar, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
And now to updates from Atari border. Ahead of the closure of the border checkpost, influx and efflux of people there continues amid tensions over the Pahalgam terror attack. As the 48-hour deadline given to Pakistani nationals present in India on SARC visa to leave ended on Sunday, the 27th of April. As of now, 536 Pakistanis have returned via the Atari-Wagah joint checkpost in Amritsar. Meanwhile, a total of 836 Indians have also returned from Pakistan till Sunday evening. While medical visas issued to Pakistani nationals will be valid only till the 29th of April. The decision instructing Pakistani nationals to leave India was taken during the Cabinet Committee on Security meeting called on 23rd April in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack, a day before, in which 26 tourists were killed. And joining me from Atari is my colleague Gurmeet Singh. Gurmeet, do you have an update for us from Atari?
Yes, Ramesh, first of all, I would like to update you about the latest situation that is pervading over here at Atari border. Right now, it's around 2:30, and most of the Pakistani nationals who have come here and approached and turned up to the integrated checkpost over here, they have gone inside the custom and immigration counter and got their immigration cleared as per the input. And now, after that, they have gone to the Pakistani side of immigration, and as per the input, most of them have got their immigration clear even on that side and entered to their homeland. Same way, the Indians who were in Pakistan, they have got their immigration clear first from the Pakistani side, now got immigration cleared on the Indian side, and now at around 2 p.m., a lot of Indians have started coming out of the integrated checkpost. At this point in time, I would like to show you the latest visuals of Atari border. First of all, I would request my video journalist to show you the visuals over there, because some families from Pakistan, they have come back to their country, and the media persons are interacting with them. And I would like to show you the Atari border integrated checkpost also. Few Pakistani families are still inside and they're getting their immigration clear. But as the latest situation on ground we have seen today, that few people who were on small time visa over here, who were on tourist visa, pilgrim visa, they also came here. They also got their immigration cleared and went back to their country. And one thing has got clear, that some relaxation has been given to the people with the small time visa, and they are also being allowed to go back to their country at this point in time.
Right, we'll leave it there. Gurmeet Singh reporting there from Atari. Gurmeet, thank you. Appreciate it. Meanwhile, a Pakistani national has been found living in the Tinsukia district of northeastern state of Assam. Giving information about this, Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said the Pakistani citizen is married to a local family and has applied for a long-term visa. He said the state government has sought guidance from the central government on whether the woman should be allowed to stay or be sent back to Pakistan.
We have only one Pakistani citizen in Tinsukia district. She has married to a local family, but she is originally from Pakistan. She has applied for long-term visa. We have requested Government of India to clarify whether she should be sent back or not. That is the only one case. Otherwise, we don't have any Pakistani citizen in Assam.
The 26/11 Mumbai terror attack mastermind Rana is being produced in court today as his 18 days of National Investigation Agency's custody is ending. While the investigating agency may seek more custody of Rana from the court, officials said Rana was not cooperating. He was brought to India from the US on 10th April by a special plane, and he was produced before the bench of Special NIA Judge Chandrajit Singh. The terrorist was involved in the conspiracy behind the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Minister Hardeep Singh Puri and Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta today distributed Aayushman Bharat cards to senior citizens aged 70 and above under the Pradhan Mantri Vandana Yojana. The initiative aims to provide significant healthcare benefits to the elderly population. The scheme offers a total health cover of up to Rs 10 lakh, which includes Rs 5 lakh coverage under the Aayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. An additional Rs 5 lakh health insurance coverage provided by the Delhi government. Eligible senior citizens will be able to avail themselves of free treatment at hospitals registered under the Aayushman Bharat PMJAY scheme, ensuring access to quality healthcare services.
एक व्यक्ति जो 70 साल से ऊपर की उम्र का है, उसको इसका लाभ मिलेगा। ये इस योजना की खूबसूरती है। केवल दो चीजें चाहिए, एक आप दिल्ली के निवासी हो और दूसरा आपके पास आधार कार्ड हो, और आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन आज से दिल्ली में शुरू हो गया है।
All right, in news just coming in, India has signed a deal for the Rafal Marine jets. This deal was signed just moments ago in New Delhi. We'll get to the latest from our correspondent on the ground covering the meeting that's just taken place. Remember, India is to acquire 26 Rafale Marine jets from France at a cost of 63,000 crore rupees. The deal has just been signed here in New Delhi, and we'll get you more on that in just a bit. Just to recap the big news we're tracking here on DD India News App, India and France have signed a mega 63,000 crore rupee deal to buy 26 Rafale Marine aircraft for the Indian Navy. The Indian side was represented by Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh, where the Navy Vice Chief Vice Admiral K. Swaminathan was also present. The 26 Rafale Marine fighter jets are urgently required for deployment on Indian aircraft carriers, in particular the INS Vikrant, which is now in service. The Rafael M jets will be customized to meet Indian requirements and will be integrated with two INS Vikrant. These carrier-borne fighters are being acquired as a stopgap solution until the development of an indigenous carrier-borne fighter jet is completed. Right, and joining me for this news just coming in is my colleague Ashray Dagar. Akshay, fill us in on the latest that you're picking up on this signing of the deal.
The latest, Ramesh, that the deal has finally been signed, and it was a long time in the making. There have been several layers of approvals, of negotiations about price, about the kind of armaments that are going to be given with the Rafale, the kind of training that is required. So it's a long procedure to acquire any kind of weaponry from any country. When it comes to such a mega deal involving several $1 billion, it has to be scrutinized at every level, and that has been done. By the Defence Ministry, by the Defence Ministry officials, by the Indian Navy, by Indian Navy's top brass that has been not only leading several carrier groups, but also has been inducting many of made in India equipment. And amid all of that, acquiring a jet that suits the Indian conditions, that suits our environment, the kind of threat perception that we have, was all done before finalizing a deal of this magnitude. So finally, India expected to get get 26 Rafale jets that are the marine variant. Hence, the Rafael M is named like that. And what we can expect in the next few years is a speedy delivery by Dassault to India of these 26 Rafale jets, which are not only going to be operated from INS Vikrant, but INS Vikramaditya at some point, if required as well. Because these jets that have been finalized for the deal, they suit perfectly to the kind of infrastructure that we have, to the kind of aircraft carriers that we have. So we have a catapult assisted but arrested recovery, which is long form for CATOBAR system in the aircraft carrier that in both the INS Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant, and that is the reason why we had to get a jet that is properly suited for these kind of conditions. They have to be properly customized as well, and we also saw that the Indian Navy is itself focusing on Atmanirbhar or made in India products and weaponry, but when it comes to the aircraft technology, it's quite sophisticated. It takes a lot of time, and while the ADA and DRDO along with HAL are producing their own aircraft, indigenous aircraft that includes a Navy variant as well, which is named TED-BF. It is going to take a lot of time for those TED-BF to actually start rolling in and come into service. And for this period of time, from today till the TED-BFs actually start to roll in for the aircraft carriers, Rafael M's are going to perfectly fit for our requirement and needs.
Akshay, do stay on. We're getting some more visuals from the signing ceremony between India and France for the acquisition of 26 Rafale fighter jets for the Indian Navy. In particular, these are the latest visuals coming to you from New Delhi, where the two sides have just finished signing a 63,000 crore rupee deal for 26 Rafale M fighter aircraft, specially for the Indian Navy. And while we stay on these visuals, Akshay, do let our viewers know how the Rafale M fighter jet is different from the other fighter aircraft that may be in operation in India and around India as well.
Well, all the aircrafts are different when it comes to their capabilities, payload capabilities, thrust vectoring, when it comes to takeoff or landing. The speed of the aircraft are different. The kind of weaponry that they can carry is different. Avionics, radars, everything that is equipped in a fighter aircraft, that is pinnacle of science and technology when it comes to aviation. The kind of metallurgy that is required for aircraft, that is also quite state-of-the-art technology. Quite cutting edge, and in fact, when it comes to the comparison between the kind of aircraft that we have right now and the Rafael M's, then it's a generational gap basically. When you look at the MiG-29Ks, they are a fourth generation aircraft. They were good enough for their service. They have given a lot of years or rather decades of service to the Indian aircraft carriers, but eventually they will be phased out as they reach their retirement age, as they reach the time when they will be phased out from service, and between that time and till the time when we have a mass production of our own fighter aircraft, when it comes to the naval variants that have to be operated from the deck of an aircraft carrier, then Rafael M are quite a generation ahead of the MiG-29s. In fact, that is the reason why the Indian Air Force also opted for Rafales amid all the other contenders for the deal that before it was signed. So you had a kind of competition coming in from all around the world. From Europe it was Eurofighter Typhoon. From US had already proposed its F-21 or F-15 aircraft. Sweden had offered its own JAS Gripen aircraft. Russia had been offering Sukhoi 35. So all of the countries were offering their own aircraft, but India chose Rafale from France because it suited its need. India has also operated Mirage aircraft that is from the same manufacturer. So India has had an experience of operating Dassault machinery, and that is why it was chosen. Similarly, when it comes to the Indian Navy, there were other variants as well, other options too. The US was offering its F-18 that it operates from the decks of its several nuclear powered aircraft carriers, and that by evaluating all of these and which aircraft suits best for the Indian Navy and is also in budget, then Rafael M were finalized, and even though it's a mega deal, yes, but the kind of equipment that Rafale brings is truly going to be a game changer in eventuality of any war.
Indeed, the big news we're tracking here on DD India News are, and as my colleague Ashray Dagar is reporting, India and France have signed a deal for acquiring 26 Rafal Marine fighter jets for the Indian Navy at a cost of 63,000 crore rupees. Akshay, thank you. That was my colleague Akshay Dongre on the signing of that all-important defense deal. Right, moving on, North Korea has confirmed for the first time that it has deployed troops to fight alongside Russia in Ukraine. Acting on orders from leader Kim Jong-un, North Korean forces reportedly helped liberate Russia's Kursk region, a move hailed by Pyongyang as proof of an unbreakable alliance. The KCNA state media called their fighters heroes, highlighting the deepening military pact sealed by Kim and President Putin last year. North Korea sent an estimated total of 14,000 troops, including 3,000 reinforcements, to replace its losses, Ukrainian officials reported. Despite suffering heavy losses because of limited equipment and battlefield experience, North Korean forces adapted swiftly. Russia, after months of silence, has now acknowledged their presence. And South Korea has condemned North Korea's confirmation of deploying troops to the Ukraine conflict, calling it an admission of a criminal act. The South Korean government also criticized the inhumane and immoral decision to send young soldiers to fight, accusing the North of using them to reinforce its regime.
North Korea's official acknowledgement of this involvement is, in itself, an admission of criminal act. In response, our military strongly condemns these inhuman and illegal acts together with the international community.
국제사회와 함께 비인도적이고 불법적인 행위를
Donald Trump on Sunday called on Russia to halt its ongoing attacks against Ukraine, even as his government signaled growing frustration with stalled peace efforts. Trump said he was disappointed by Russia's continued aggression and described his recent meeting with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky as productive. Here's more.
US President Donald Trump has called on Russia to stop its attacks on Ukraine, expressing disappointment at Moscow's continued aggression. Trump said his meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the Vatican had gone well, describing Zelensky as calmer and willing to make a deal.
I think the meeting went well. We'll see what happens over the next few days. We'll probably learn a lot. I was very disappointed that missiles were flying by Russia, but that missiles were flying. Very disappointing. We'll see how it goes.
Following his meeting with Zelensky, Trump criticized Russian President Vladimir Putin, saying there is no reason for Russia to bomb civilian areas.
Well, I want him to stop shooting, sit down and sign a deal. And we have the confines of a deal, I believe. And I want him to sign it and be done with it and just go back to life.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has described the coming week very critical for U.S. attempts to end the conflict.
Well, I always think it's silly to set a specific date or whatever, but I can just tell you that almost 100 days into this presidency, the president has dedicated a tremendous amount of time and energy to this. And we think we brought the sides closer than they've been in a very long time, but we're not there yet, and it needs to start happening. We need to start, I think this is going to be a very critical week.
Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in a televised interview that Crimea is a done deal and is not being discussed in the negotiations with Ukraine.
President Trump said Crimea is not even being discussed right now.
Yes, because this is a done deal.
You mean Russia occupies and controls and will not negotiate the future of Crimea? Is that what you're saying?
Russia do not negotiate its own territory.
Neither Zelensky nor Putin have publicly responded to Trump's latest comments. Ukraine has repeatedly rejected making any territorial concessions, stressing that issues about land should only be discussed once a ceasefire is agreed. Bureau Report, DD India.
In other news, Canadian voters are all set to cast their ballots today after months of uncertainty influenced by US President Donald Trump's unpredictable global tariff policies. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called for the April 28 election in March, shortly after replacing former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Voters will choose their local representative to the House of Commons, but the ballot will not include a direct vote for Prime Minister. Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre campaigned across the country on Sunday the final day of a 5-week campaign making their pitches to voters. Carney met with supporters in Saskatchewan after making a case a day earlier in Ontario that he is best placed to steer Canada through a crisis triggered by Trump's tariffs. Poilievre has promised to reduce spending on foreign aid and axes a federal sales tax on Canadian-made autos as long as U.S. tariffs are in place. So are voters convinced by the promises being made? What are their hopes, frustrations or expectations from the next leader? To talk about this, let's go across to Tarun Paul in Canada. Tarun, what's the mood on the ground as Canada heads towards election?
Right now, the mood is a little bit of the hope and frustration. People are getting little engaged that, okay, that political parties are getting involved, but still they are afraid that their promises which has been made will not be fulfilled.
Also, what are the main issues that voters are concerned about?
Affordability still remains the top concern along with housing, healthcare and everything. They want that the politicians should take care of these stuffs and should focus on these stuffs more as compared to US and other topics.
And do voters trust the promises being made by political parties?
There are hope and skepticism right now going on. People are afraid that the promises which has been made right now will not be fulfilled after an election. They want that the politicians should take care of these stuffs and plus take care of the housing, healthcare, affordability and all the promises should be fulfilled after election also.
And finally, Tarun, what are the expectations from the new leader?
While talking with the community people, the expectations are very high. They want that the new leader should take care of all the commitments which has been made and they think that the affordability, housing and all the main focus stuffs should be taken care by them.
Tarun, thank you. Tarun Paul reporting there from Canada. Moving on, Vaibhav Pivlatkar, an award-winning filmmaker and visual storyteller, has been a pivotal figure in India's animation landscape, serving as a jury member for the Animation Filmmakers Challenge at Waves 2025. He brings a wealth of experience and a keen eye for narrative excellence.
With a diverse portfolio that spans both Indian and international projects, Vaibhav Pivlatkar has contributed to acclaimed films such as RRR, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and The Golden Compass. As a jury member for the Animation Filmmakers Challenge, he says he enjoyed the process as the content was like a feast for eyes.
Wave is a really good platform where you can just put up your idea and that idea can go like I don't know, it can become a dinosaur like in the future. So I found it very interesting, so many entries that came this year. I was mesmerized, I thought it will be a very hectic process, but I enjoyed reading each and every story.
His expertise encompasses various facets of animation, including storyboarding, visual effects, and direction. At Waves 2025, Pivlatkar evaluated submissions based on originality, narrative strength, and technical execution, among other criteria. He says post-COVID, the young generation knows what they want to present in 30 seconds, and it's commendable.
This generation, especially who are 16 to 20 years now, or maybe close to 24, they know all this phase and they know the power of the social media and they know the power of 30 seconds clip, how much impact it can. You don't need to make 1.5 hour ka film or 3 hours ka film. 30 seconds also can change their world and they can change the world also itself.
The Animation Filmmaker Challenge will help India's growing prominence in global animation and digital storytelling.
It is just one idea and it should click, and that's the exact place what Wave Summit is being seen as, and we are also hoping that India gets a lot of talent and these talent get a lot of platform. With camera person Sailesh, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.